Hallo und willkommen zu einer neuen Episode des Tech & Community Podcasts. Dieser Podcast unterstützt die European SharePoint-Konferenz ESPC 2022, die Ende November in Kopenhagen stattfindet. Während des Podcasts gibt es Infos für einen 10% Rabattgutschein zur Teilnahme der Konferenz. Stay tuned. Aber zuerst zu einer ganz anderen Konferenz. In dieser Episode spreche ich mit Marc Michault. Er ist einer der Organisatoren des European MCT Summit, der im September in Zürich stattfindet und sich gezielt an Microsoft Certified Trainer richtet.
Well, hello.
So, hello, Marc. Nice having you on my podcast. I want to talk about the MCT, so the European MCT Summit 2022. As far as I know, you are one of the organizers or co-organizers, so to speak. Maybe you introduce yourself first.
Sure. So I'm Marc Michault. I'm a MCT and the one or two MCT regional leads for Switzerland. Back before what I think it was Ed Baker referred to as the zombie apocalypse, we had decided that Charlie volunteered to take over the MCT Summit. So this should have taken place already 3 years ago. And yes, but I have to give credit to Charlie. He's the one he is really the co-organizer. He's the one who's been pushing it. He has put up a very ambitious agenda, and we're cognizant of the fact that we're holding the first MCT Summit in 3 years. So we want people to really gain from it, both on the technical aspects, but also on the social aspect. You've attended a number of those summits. You know that the networking is just as important as learning new stuff. And we are in the middle of some major change with Microsoft Learning. So I think this is the right time to have this kind of summit. Stephanie Jasmine, who's the MCT program manager, will be coming from Redmond. We're actually hoping that she will be there a bit longer. So we also get to chat a little bit with her things, but that will be an opportunity for MCTs to interact directly with the manager in charge of their program in Redmond. And you mentioned, so the first thing I think of the MCT Summit is just to make sure that everyone knows how to get information about it. So the website is mctsummit in one word .eu. Since this is the European MCT Summit, there has been some discussion that Americans will have theirs, but what we expect is that it will take place probably in March around the MVP Summit and the Regional Lead Summit, if those two take place. So we know there will be Zurich. We don't know about the US, and this is pretty much the big one, I would say, this year. So.
Yeah, so this will be one of the surprises coming down the road, if there will be a summit and if it will be in person. We are just hoping to have some.
You're meaning for the Regional Lead Summit?
Yeah, for Regional Lead and MVP and whatsoever kind of thing that we do have in-person Microsoft conferences again coming up.
Yeah. Well, as you know, and you're working with Microsoft pretty closely. Currently, they've locked down every single. It is all summits, all events have to be remote for the time being. So, and actually, since we just started their new fiscal year, I don't know if the rules have still the same or if they've kind of lowered those. But I know that they still privilege the remote events for the time being. So, and I tend to think as a trainer, we've got to enjoy the remote learning in the few years, and it's kind of nice to be able to drink tea from your own cup and go to your own bathroom, but at the same time the interaction in person is still very, very important, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of the things that we've learned with the early and the first this year taking place in Europe, that getting back to social interaction again, which is good, and we'll see. Regarding the MCT Summit, is it intended for MCTs only?
So that's a good question. Pretty much, yes. So MCT and MCT alumni, and that's also a request from Microsoft because some of the contents will be under NDA. Okay, so that is one of the challenges we're going to have because some people that will be presenting will not be MCTs. We have a pretty cool teaching skills track with some coaches and consultants, which are not MCT. So we need to make sure they don't hear about the cool stuff that Microsoft is doing at the same time. Okay. But yeah, it is focused mostly for MCTs. Now, on the 7th and 9th of September, we will have the approved technical trainer course, which is somewhat typical of the MCT Summit, meaning that's a teaching skills course for people who want to become MCTs. And typically they follow up that with that to the next week. So the real summit takes place on September 12th and the 14th. And that allows them, as some people refer to them, baby MCTs, to join in the very first MCT Summit right after the first week where they will have the training skills. So those are the people that will start as non-MCTs, but if they pass their training skills and they have the technical certification, they will then be able to attend from the 12th to the 14th in the regular summit.
Okay, that already answers one of the questions that I prepared. I was wondering if there are any ways, to fulfill the prerequisites for becoming an MCT, but you already.
Yeah, and if I may just add to that, I think this is particularly important this year. You know that basically Microsoft cut down all of the registration for new MCTs as they were clearing up and cleaning up the program. This will, whereas it used to be a bit more tolerant, shall we say, on the skills and things like that. Now that will be a requirement. So to become an MCT, you will have to attend a training skills. I think we can be honest. The problem is being that the referral system was abused to some extent. So, they realized that people do need training. Now, I would also add, I think, if it was just up to me, I wouldn't mind MCTs having a regular refresher on training skills, because I know that I attend conference like you do, but I also attend when some of my colleagues are presenting just to look at their training skills. And, an old dog can certainly learn new tricks, right?
Absolutely. We never stop learning.
You never stop learning. No.
Okay. No, never. So are there any pre-summit activities? So socializing.
So I just mentioned the training skills, and before that I was talking of the social event, and I think Charlie just did that on purpose because he can just show that the lakes in the Swiss-German parts are nicer or things like that. But the Swiss Experience Day on September the 10th should be pretty awesome. We're going on the Lucerne Sea and the lake of Lucerne. And there is a chocolate factory we're going to. Now, this will be limited to 65 people. We're expecting about 150 to 100 MCTs. That's the average, up to a maximum of 350. So unfortunately, we will not be able to have everyone come on the Swiss Experience Day. But personally, that's the reason why I'm going to the summit, is to attend the Swiss Experience Day, because I don't have enough experience with Switzerland as it is right now. So, right.
Okay. So it's just for you, extending your knowledge, right?
Yeah, exactly. Switzerland. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So the funny question is, are there still any open spots for that too?
I believe there are still some spots on those. I know that pretty much everyone that has already booked has booked. There's been a majority that booked also the Swiss Experience Day along with it. Okay, so I believe we still have rooms. I must admit I've not checked with Charlie recently on that, and he's the one with the numbers. So, but if you're interested, book now, book quickly on that. That's what I would say. Okay. So we following the 10th of September, by the way, there will also be now, because as I mentioned, this will be in around the Lucerne Sea, in Lucerne. So there'll be it's not within Zurich, but there will be a walking tour of Zurich. Now, as most of the Swiss towns, those are very old towns with a rich history. So that'll be a walking tour of the old Zurich, which is kind of nice. It's paved roads and all the houses and things like that. Well, it doesn't impress our European MCTs as much as the American MCTs, but, even my house where I live is over 300 years old. So that doesn't qualify for the tour. So it should be interesting for a lot of old houses and things like that. So.
That's definitely a cool thing to do. So, what's the history behind the MCT Summit? Do you remember when the very first MCT Summit took place?
Actually, I don't know if you know this or if you remember it, but actually the very first MCT Summit took place in Zurich in 2007. So that was quite a while. Now, to be perfectly honest, before that, Microsoft had a couple of events like in 2001 up to 2002 or something like that, which they had organized in the US. And I was lucky enough. The MCT program manager in Switzerland, Reto Rüger at the time, was a brilliant fellow, and he organized this summit, which was kind of pushed. It was a time where you could do that. It was somewhat pushed on Microsoft corporate, and they kind of went along with it. Now, I have a little interesting story about that. I think we had over 250 MCTs. It was the Radisson Sass, I think, hotel in Zurich. And Jane Poeta, who was working with Reto Rüger, told the hotel, listen, let me warn you, you're going to get a bunch of MCTs. You better stock your bar and you better upgrade your network. And they told her, hey, listen, we've been having conferences here for years. We know what we're doing. Thank you very much, but no, thank you. I think the bar ran out of beer on the second night, and we crashed the Wi-Fi a couple of times during the stay. Okay. So nice. Good going, MCTs, same as usual. Okay, but that was something that was Microsoft sponsored and organized, and there are a couple of stories there that I cannot repeat. But if you get me a beer in Zurich, I'll tell you a couple of funny stories about that one. And that's then stopped afterwards. Reto moved on and things like that. And credit has to be given to Andrew Bettany because he organized the first community MCT Summit in 2010 in York. I was working at the University of York, and that was kind of cool and what started the regular annual MCT Summits. I believe actually the Europeans were the first one to do it. The Americans followed suit, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Okay. So yeah, there's a long and storied story of the MCT Summit. It's been something the community has been doing for a long time. You and I have attended quite a few, and as much as I can, I absolutely always want to join those. Actually, on most years, I attend both the European and the American one, and some years I attended the European, the American, and the African one. So I did that, I think, a couple of times, yeah.
Yeah, we should not forget about the fact that there are regional MCT summits in other parts of the world as well. So,
right, exactly, yeah.
Right. And I definitely do remember the MCT summit that we had close to Cologne in the amusement park of Phantasialand, which was quite a thing.
It was quite a thing,
and as well. So what can you tell us something about the venue in Zurich this year? So I think it's the technology park.
Yeah, it's a techno park. Again, Swiss cities tend to be not too large. Zurich is being the larger city, but it's kind of the center. So it'll be easy of access. And what we're going to have, you will have the different rooms in addition to the auditorium for the keynotes and things like that. And there will be a center exhibitor hall where people will be presenting. We've got some cool sponsors, hopefully, that will be presenting. I know a couple of them that I pushed for them to attend. So I know there'll be a lot of benefit to the summit, but I can't talk too much about it because I don't think that Charlie has put the information out yet. So I have to be careful about what I tell them. And the one thing I do know, because it was one of the sponsors that everyone knows, there will be a coffee cart, which is kind of funny because that one started as a, kind of a moped, one of those carts that you see in Italy, those three-wheelers with a coffee, and we're trying to be a bit green. So now they'll be pulled by bicycle, but for your cappuccino and all that. And it is shall we say, a friend of the community that's going to be setting up that one. So that's we're looking forward to that. Yes.
Yeah, so actually, I really look forward to attend that event. So sadly, I can't make it for the weekend, but I definitely look forward for 3 days MCT Summit. So after. So
I regret that you will. I regret you will not be there for the weekend. That's going to be a great fun, I think. Yeah. That being said, as I mentioned, we will start up on Monday on the 12th. With a keynote, and then we have 4 parallel tracks that run on the 3 days. But we're finishing Monday evening with a welcome event, so you will still have a chance to kind of interact with MCTs outside of the cappuccino cart I just told you about earlier on. Okay. My challenge is I'm more of a tea drinker, so I need to find some way of brewing myself some tea.
Oh, I think that shouldn't be so much of a
we'll manage, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I know that Charlie has also organized some really nice catering around the events. Okay.
Du möchtest an der European SharePoint-Konferenz 2022 in Kopenhagen teilnehmen? Als Hörer des Podcasts kannst du dir mit dem Couponcode ThomasTech als ein Wort 10% Rabatt sichern. Der Code ist, noch einmal buchstabiert, Theodor Heinrich, Otto Martha, Anton Samuel, Theodor Emil Cäsar Heinrich. Die Webseite der ESPC-Konferenz erreichst du unter www.sharepointeurope.com. Viel Spaß in Kopenhagen. So, anything else you want to share just to engage the audience at least the MCTs of the audience, to participate and to come down to Zurich?
So, I like to tell stories, I guess, or something like that as an MCT. You were talking of some of the previous MCT summits, and for a number of years, I was trying to convince the MCTs in Switzerland, come and join, and they tend to be, but it's so nice in Switzerland, and the fondue is terrible outside, and things like that. So I managed to get 2 of the MCTs to travel with me. It was the Ignite. Do you remember those Ignite the Tour, which they had in different cities and things like that? And I managed to get them in Copenhagen, which is one of my favorite cities. And we immediately kind of hooked up with other MCTs, and that was the first time they saw the community outside of Switzerland. And I remember one of the MCTs, the 2 suddenly left. We were having dinner with something like a dozen MCTs, and they left outside, and I'm like, what's going on? And I find them feverishly typing up on their phones to try to register for the MCT Summit that was in Thessaloniki. So, to try it is to love it, I would say, in a sense. No, but it is something that every MCT has to, at the very least, try once for themselves. And I think that once you try an MCT Summit and you realize the community, because you and I are part of the community. We attend, every Wednesday call with Sarah and things like that. But there is a large number of MCTs that do not interact with the rest of the community. And I like the time co-petition, so we compete, but we cooperate a lot on the stuff, and this is where you will benefit from those things. Okay. Now, on the technical aspect, this is just the social, and between Swiss Experience Day, the interaction I was just telling you about, there'll be a ton there. And for me, simply because I've been doing this for a long time, that might be the part I prefer. That being said, Charlie had an interesting idea this year. The sessions are going to be longer, so there'll be an hour and a half, okay? Because he wanted to ramp up the level of the session that take place. And really, he's been organizing a number of conferences for PASS and things like that on the SQL Server environment. So he wants to ramp up something. And the requirement for the sessions this year was not only that, it would be of a high technical level, but also that they focus on improving your ability for courses. So when we're interacting with the speakers and asking them what they're going to present, one of the questions we want to make sure is, okay, which course will benefit from that? We're not repeating those courses, but we know that whenever you deliver a course, for example, let's say the AZ 104, which a lot of people will deliver, or for that extent, any of the Microsoft 365 courses, there are portions on the Active Directory, and the course tends to stop at a certain time, and you have questions from the students. So these sessions will help up, improve and go beyond it, give you the expert information that will allow you to make your course really memorable with your students.
Yeah, it definitely teaches something about time management.
That too. Yeah, that too. Yeah. No, that's another thing that MCTs don't realize. Teaching for 5 days or 4 days or 3 days is totally different than presenting for an hour and a half in the time. And the both of us have done that a number of times. Yeah. Now, let me just add one more thing, though, on that aspect, is that if those sessions are not sufficient, you want to get even deeper into the stuff. The conference itself is going to be followed by some technical train-the-trainer events on 3 tracks. So we have Thiago Costa on Azure. We have Julian Sharp on Power Platform and Glenn Morris on the data AI. So these on the 15th and 16th of September. I've just mentioned their names because they are it on those platforms. They are, legends in that field. And the two of us are lucky enough to know them. Glenn Morris, I think I've met a couple of times, but certainly Thiago and Julian, and again, people that have done a ton for the community are legends in their field. So that will go even beyond, and that follows up on what I was telling you, that Charlie's aim of having a really high level summit. Yeah,
I definitely look forward to the MCT Summit. Not only for the social stuff, but for at least meeting Thiago and the guys to reconnect and extend the network for any other new MCTs joining us at the MCT Summit in Zurich. So thank you, Marc.
Well, welcome.
Thank you for this, and looking forward to seeing you in person in September.
Okay, and if you find any way to call in sick on the weekend and join us, please do. Okay,
I will do my best.
Yeah, pretend that you were kidnapped by a bunch of crazy Swiss region leads. Okay.
You mind that work out?
I think it will. Okay. Don't believe anything from us.
Okay. Die Links zur Webseite des MCT Summit EU findet ihr wie immer in den Infos zu dieser Episode und im Blogpost. Und wenn du deine User Group oder dein IT-Community-Event gerne mal in diesem Podcast vorstellen möchtest, auf der Webseite podcast.granikos.eu findest du alle Infos und die Kontaktdaten. Bis zum nächsten Mal beim Tech- und Community Podcast.